actual data came in way higher than expected, and that's a big shock and could limit further gains in oil prices. So in that regard, even though the market is looking very bullish at this point in time, it is quite it is necessary that we take this as a sign that we could see a cap in this upward trajectory. Then of course the situation between the Israel and Iran is also still holding. The true situation we have there, even though the Middle East truce is has calmed things down between Israel and Iran, the Red Sea is now the hotspot. So within this whole narrative here, I think market participants will be waiting for today's EIA report, which is going to be giving us an inventory of crude oil stockpile in the United States and the global economy as at large. And if there is high inventory, there is a likelihood that this is going to put pressure on oil prices. Now let's look at what the chart is saying from a technical standpoint. What is the market doing as regards to digesting the fundamental factors in this market? So, and to do that, we would like to scale down into our lower time frame, that is our execution time frame, which is the 1 hour time frame. So like I told you earlier, I'm yet to take a trade on the US crude oil, and basically the reason is simply this. Now at the beginning of the week, I missed out on that breakout of structure which we identified. Let me quickly share with you what we were looking at. So at the beginning of the week, this is what we were looking at here. We saw a range bound structure. Of course, the week started with a strong bearish move. Price dropped into that ascending trend line, then came back up into the resistance line, giving us a range bound structure between the $65.62 level and of course the $64.70 area. Now, as at the time we were analyzing this market on Monday, price had already broken out of the structure, as you can see here. And one of the things I was saying here on Monday was I will like to wait patiently for price to come back and retest the structure to continue that uptrend move, which never happened. And the second option we mentioned here was that we'll wait for, if that does not happen, we'll wait for price to break out of the $66.50 level, retest of structure, and then join the uptrend move. And you all know I do not trade on Tuesdays. So this whole scenario here happened on Tuesday, yesterday, so I missed out on it. But if you in any way are taking advantage of that opportunity, as we have discussed on Monday, well done and kudos to you. So by now you should be running with, if you still have the trade running, that is, if you still have the trade running, you should be running with about 130 pips. And I would advise you that at this juncture, you want to be moving your stop losses and secure some of this profit. Maybe about 80-90 pips will be quite reasonable at this point in time while we monitor price action as market anticipate the release of the Fed minutes meeting later today. Now, in preparation for today's trading session, I also missed out on another structure. So if you look at the structure here, let me zoom in. We saw that during the later part of the New York session yesterday, the market retraced back into forming another structure, as you will see here during the Asian session, giving us a consolidation phase. So to make things easy for the high, let me highlight it quickly. So we had the $67.30 area, as you can see here, the resistant line of that structure. And then we also have the, $67 area right here. $67 level, okay? And what does this mean? That was a range bound structure, and you know how we use our range bound structure. We want to wait. Okay, this is $67.30, right? So we want to wait for price to break out to give us buying ideas, or break down to give us selling ideas. And this was exactly what happened about 2 hours ago. So I missed out on that one again. Two good opportunities I missed out this week on the USOILSPOT, and at this juncture I had no other choice than to wait patiently for price to evolve into another new structure. Now, with the way things are going right now, price is gradually approaching the $68 level right here. So we have the $68 area. Now the question now is, will this be a barrier for buyers? Will sellers come in from here, especially after getting the information that crude oil stockpile rose massively from the API report yesterday? Now, will the sentiment shift in that favor, or will the sentiment continue to weigh in on the Red Sea tension and the deadly ship attacks from the Houthis? If that is going to be the case, we may see price breakout, retest the $68 level to welcome more buying ideas. So what I'm going to be looking out for today is this. I want to look out for continued uptrend scenario. If price can break out, retest the $68 area, then I will join. And of course, I will be listening to the news to see if attacks by the Houthis intensifies today. And if that is going to be the case, we may likely see price continue its uptrend. But if that is not the case and the sentiment continues to lean towards the decline in demand, that is the increase in supply, the $68 area could be a barrier for sellers. Of course, this happened here during the New York session yesterday, and price is gradually approaching that area. So if it happens that we continue to see selling pressure below the structure, maybe price action evolved into a double top structure on the 15 minutes time frame, then the breakdown retest of the neckline will welcome selling ideas, maybe back into the trend line we marked out earlier, or any of the structures we have here. So we are looking at, if sellers come in from here, we'll be looking at a minimum of 50, medium of 75, 100 pips, and of course a maximum of about 200 pips if price moves into that trend line. So depending on what type of trader you are, a long-term trader, scalper, day trader, whichever case, you know which TP to choose out of the structures we have here. So basically, we are gradually heading towards a critical juncture right now at the $68 area, and depending on how the market reacts to the structure will determine whether we'll continue the uptrend or get ready for a decline. I will always give us an update on my Telegram platform if I find a new structure around this area on the 15 minutes time frame. So that is basically my view as regards to the US crude oil for today's trading session. I hope I made myself very clear. But if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will take about 5-10 seconds off. Let's see if there are any questions before we move on to the next asset on our watch list. Stay tuned in. All right. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page, right? Let's mark out these levels accordingly. I will continue to monitor how price action behaves around the $68 area. Like I said, we're looking for double top structures or any form of reversal pattern here on the 15 or 10 minutes time frame, then break down retest of the neckline, pull inside the seller from here. And if price goes ahead to break out the 68, then we want to start considering the uptrend move. So I just hope that I will be able to be part of any significant move that happens today, especially after missing out on those opportunities for this week. And for those of us who were lucky enough to be part of those trades, I told you earlier, kindly move your stop losses, secure the positions while we continue to monitor price action. So I wish us the best of luck today on. So moving on to the next asset on our watch list. So the next asset we are looking at this morning is the USDJPY. The same thing also happened to me on the USDJPY. I was unable to capitalize on any trading opportunities here, as I didn't get any formation. And of course, if you look at the chart, you will see that the yen is weak at the moment. Because why? Well, Japan isn't hiking rates anytime soon. Economic data in Japan is poor at the moment, and of course they also have this political risk which is rising at the moment. So everything is not looking rosy for the Japanese yen. Now, meanwhile, the US dollar remains strong due to tariff-driven inflation fears and a solid labor market at this point. So the USDJPY currently is caught in a tug of war, but right now the US dollar has the upper hand in this case scenario, and of course we've seen the momentum continue to show in favor of the US dollar. Now, what are the things we saw at the beginning of the week? What are the structures we marked out on this chart? Now, if you remember vividly, at the beginning of the week, this was where price action started. We had the range bound structure. We had the resistance line here. We had the support at the 144.250. That was our key level at the beginning of the week. And you know how we use our range bound structures in this community. We wait patiently for price to either break out of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or break down the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. Now, the breakout here happened during the Asian session, and in this part of the world, that time we are sleeping. So I missed out on that one. And then I told us on Monday that I would like to wait for the formation of another structural pattern before I can enter the trade. And that never happened throughout Monday's trading session, though we saw price break out of the 144.200. No structural detail, as you can see. Not until yesterday we begin to notice price evolve into what looks like an uptrend continuation pattern in the form of an ascending triangle. Yesterday is Tuesday, of course. I do not trade on Tuesdays, so I missed out on this one. Look at this. We had an impulsive move. We had a resistance line here, and then this is an ascending triangle. And of course, we saw price break out of the ascending triangle to continue that uptrend move. Now, with the way things are going right now, we can see that buyers appear to have peaked at the 147.200 area. As you will see, it appears that the yen is doing some recovery at this point in time. Now, will this recovery last long? Well, I don't think so. Why? The dollar is still very, very strong at the moment. Then I forgot to mention this. Trump announced a 25% tariff on Japanese goods starting from August 1st. And he also went on to warn them not to retaliate, and this has rattled the yen further. And I still think that the yen doesn't really have that momentum to catch up here, at least in the meantime. And if we do this, coupled with the fact that the Japanese economy contracted in Q1 due to low consumer spending, real wage also dropped in Japan. In fact, the economy is not doing very well at the moment. I want to see this recovery in the yen as a retracement of the impulsive move that we saw started this week. Now, the question now is, how far will this retracement phase go before the next wave of bullish momentum will happen, which is exactly what I am waiting for. Now, we have a couple of structures to help us navigate this. First of all, I want to acknowledge this area here. First of all, let me share this with you. I have this trend line which captures the uptrend scenario from yesterday's trading session. As you can see, price had continued to respect it. You know how we treat our ascending trend lines. As long as price remains above them, we will look out for patterns and structures that support buying ideas. Now, this is what I'm looking at now. I think I'm going to change the support line to somewhere around the 144.300, and I'll explain to you why. So 146.300. The reason why I'm using 146.300 is basically because of, one, the fact that it is a psychological level. It ends with a 0. And then secondly, it happens to be the resistant line of this ascending triangle that we marked out here. So let me do that again. So we have the impulse leg, we have the resistant line, and then we have this, and then we saw what happened. Price broke out of the ascending channel here, and we may see a situation where price could come back, retest the resistant line of the ascending channel to continue an uptrend move. So that is basically what I'm looking at here. So though we are right at the trend line, we could see price do a sharp retest of structure, and then boom, it continues to the upside. So I'm still looking to join a bullish setup here based on what the structure is looking like. So if price comes back and I see something like a double bottom structure, multiple hammer candles, then I will look to join a buy there and then add more position if price breaks out of the 147.200 level to maximize the potential of that bullish opportunity. Now, if that is not the case and sellers continues to push in, that is, market participants begin to take some profit ahead of the release of the Fed minutes later today, if they continue to take some profit, we could see price break down this 146.300 and then join, and price drops into that ascending trend line we spotted on the 4 hours time. And if we look at the distance between the 146.300 and that trend line, we're talking about 180 pips. So I would want to join only if I see something convincing, like a breakdown, multiple retest of structure, before I can join. If I didn't see, then I would have no other choice than to wait for price to come back into this area for me to continue that trend to the upside. So that is basically what we are going to be doing today. So it's a simple trading setup. We are looking at if price will one way or the other come to the 146.300. We'll look out for reversal setups, hammer candles around that area. Then we can join comfortably and then add more buy position at the break of the 147.200. But if price drops below the 146.300, then we want to be waiting for confirmation before jumping into a sell. So that is basically what I am looking at. I hope I made myself very clear. If we look at things from a long-term perspective, this market is bullish. The fundamental factors are pointing towards the upside here. I mentioned the economy in Japan is struggling at the moment. The Fed minute is coming up soon, later today. Trump tariff on Japanese goods is also weighing on the yen seriously. And of course, the US dollar is very, very strong at this point in time. So I'm banking on a long-term uptrend scenario here using the structure we have on the chart. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I will take about 5-10 seconds. Let's see if there are any before we move on to the final asset on our watch list. Stay tuned in. All right. I guess we are all good, isn't it? So I wish us all the best of luck on the USDJPY. So moving on to the final asset on our watch. So the final asset on our watch list is my favorite amongst them, and that is the XAUUSD. And of course, after the gold commodity rose on Monday, a move that we did capitalize on, the market throughout yesterday continue to show decline as a result of we saw a drop in safe haven demand. As we see, gold slipped about 1% of what it made this week because traders aren't as scared as they are anymore, even with Trump sending tariffs warning letters to US trade partners at this point. And when fear drops, what happens to non-yielding asset like gold? Price of this asset also drops too. And considering the fact that the US dollar is very strong at the moment, it makes gold less attractive to investors all around the world. And you know what that means. And of course, the factor supporting gold, we have the rising US Treasury bond yield. Investors are now moving their capital from non-yielding assets to Treasury bond yield, reducing the need for the non-yielding assets in gold. And this, of course, had pushed the price of this commodity to the downside. Now, let's talk about what happened on Monday. How did we trade the gold commodity? So immediately after the session, okay, let me show you this. Remember, on the 4 hours time frame, let me go to the 4 hours time frame. I needed to show you something critical at this point because we are at a critical juncture, and it's important that we really understand the technical implication of what is going on here and how market participants are digesting the fundamental factors right now. So on the 4 hours time frame, this was the structure we spotted. A simple structure, a descending channel since the beginning of June. And something interesting happened last week. We saw price break out of the resistance line of the descending channel for the first time in about 5 to 6 weeks. And look at what was going on since last week. Price had kept on retesting the resistance line. At no point did we see it drop back below the descending channel. So for me, I'm beginning to see this as a platform that could incite an uptrend move, despite the fact that the dollar is strong at this point. So if we look at things from a technical standpoint, we might be in for another wave of bullish momentum as price action remains above the resistance line of that descending channel. However, if it drops below the descending channel, we may see price drop to as far as the support line of the descending channel. support line of the descending channel right here. So that is what I'm looking at. And if you look at where price is right now, you will see that the last 24 hours shows that price is oscillating at the edge of that resistance line. Price sellers are struggling to break into the downside. Buyers are struggling to maintain the momentum out of that area, making it a crucial juncture ahead of today's event. And I'm not surprised to see something like this, especially when we are looking forward to some high impactful events such as the Fed meeting minutes, which will be released later today, as major key players may have stepped aside from the market, bringing low liquidity, waiting for this data to come in before making any aggressive bets. So as a result, we are likely going to be seeing price go through an extended sideways trading activities ahead of that event. Now, immediately I did this on Monday, I shared an update on both my Telegram and TradingView platform on the 15 minutes time frame, I guess, and that will help us navigate that market. Let us quickly look at how the thing went. So this is what we saw on this is what I shared on the 15 minutes time frame, right? So this was the structure. I began to notice this consolidation here. I marked out a trend line, and then it looks as if sellers were on the verge of taking a massive move to the downside. As you will see, price continue to trade below the trend line, making sellers feel comfortable. And in fact, I was able to join the bearish move, and we saw price move about, how many pips was that? It moved about 84. We got taken out of that move. And for those of you who know how we do it in this community, as soon as price moves significantly well, we move stop losses to secure some profit, and worst case scenario would be a break even. Then we saw what happened next. Price broke out of the trend line, and remember we said if price climbs above the 3,313, we are good to buy. So we saw a breakout happen, retest of structure, and look at what went on. Over 300 pips as price moved into the 3,345 level before dropping during yesterday's trading session. I don't trade on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I did not take the downtrend move. But right now, price is back at a crucial juncture. And for those of you who are following me on my TradingView and Telegram platform, you must have seen the structure that we are using to navigate the market today. And let me share that with you quickly. So based on what is going on right now, this is what I am looking at the moment. So we have a simple structure here. I was able to capture the downtrend that happened yesterday. That is the last 24 hours, giving me this trend line, as you can see. And with this trend line here, despite the consistent lower lows and lower highs, one thing that you will notice here is the inability of sellers to break down this area at the 3,285. Now for me, this is becoming a red flag that is telling me that sellers might be finding it difficult to break through. Look at what had been going on here since yesterday. Despite that strong massive move to the downside, sellers found it difficult to break through at this point. We saw buyers come in to push price up. The same thing also happened during the Asian session, and then during the last couple of hours as well, we've seen how buyers continue to resist selling pressure. Now the question for today's trading session is, will this area around the 3,085 become a support line that will incite the second leg of the bullish momentum that started this week? That is what I'm looking at the moment. And as a result of that, I placed a buy position above the 3,285. Then I'm waiting to add another buy position if price action breaks out of this trend line and the 3,298 to maximize the uptrend move. Though I don't think I'm doing very well at the moment. Let's look at the position. Okay, I'm currently with about 30 pips of loss on that trade because I'm taking a 0.02 lot size, so roughly 30 pips loss on this particular trade. And the fact that price still remains here, I'm very good. My stop loss is way below the 3,280 to 3,281 thereabout, giving enough breathing space for price action to move around. Now let's see what happens. Will that momentum continue? If it does, break retest of the trend line, will welcome more buying ideas. But if that is not the case and the dollar continues to gain traction, a breakdown retest of the 3,285 is all I need to confirm that sellers are still holding on strong. In fact, taking out the buyers from this area and then coming back to retest it for liquidity sake will be a good confirmation to join a downtrend move. So at the moment, I'm yet to see anything convincing that this level will be broken to the downside. Look at the character of the candle here in the last 1 hour. We have a couple of hammer candles. We have one shooting star candle, and of course we have one engulfing bullish candle. Now, from all of those 4 candles there, putting them together, it appears buyers have a higher say around this area. So I will continue to hold on to a bullish bias as long as price remains above this structure. So that is basically what I'm looking at today on the XAUUSD. Let's see how the market will play out around here. And if anything new comes up, I will definitely give us an update on my Telegram and of course TradingView platform. I hope I made myself very, very clear. If not, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I will be very glad to help you understand this better. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you have found this content helpful in making your independent decisions. Why not support the channel by giving the video a thumbs up? Your thumbs up does a lot. It means a lot to me. First of all, it inspires me to do more of this, and secondly, it also helps the YouTube algorithm to identify the video and push it to a wider audience of traders. So the more likes we have, the better our chances. So let's make the like tally with the number of people on board, and thank you very much as you do so. So let's see if there are any questions before we start rounding off on today's Forex Morning Mastery. All right. So in the absence of no questions, I guess we are all on the same page. It's been a great moment with you guys. I really appreciate, and I wish us all the best of luck. Today we were able to take on the 3 financial instruments on our watch list, which includes USOILSPOT, the USDJPY, and of course the XAUUSD. So I'm looking forward to capitalize on some opportunities on both the USDJPY and the USOILSPOT after missing out on Monday, and then I'm looking forward to continue my run on the XAUUSD today. I wish us all the best of luck, and for those who joined us for the first time, I do hope you are able to gain 1 or 2 things from this session. If you did, why not be part of our subsequent editions? The next one is on Friday, 9:30 a.m. West African time. That's 8:30 a.m. UTC. as we come here again to review how well these assets have done, and of course prepare ourselves for the final trading day of the week. So I look forward to seeing you then. So it's on this note I would like to wish us all the best of luck today. Trade smart, trade consciously, and do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye.